What's your
Hello, everybody. All right, I want you to wave at me if you can hear me and you can understand me. There we go, you're waving, perfect. I see some backs to us, but if you're able, maybe you can just turn around and you can face this way. There's a couple of things I want you guys to do. Think of some questions, and we want to create that atmosphere of if you have any questions about any film that you've seen tonight, or maybe there's a question that somebody on the panel tonight, maybe there's something that they mentioned, feel free to raise your hand and ask away. This is one of my favorite parts of the Lookout Wild Film Festival. It's that intimate setting where it's just a handful of us, where we get to hang out with these directors, producers, and these athletes. So thank you very much for being here tonight. My name is James. Have you seen me on stage the last few nights and evenings and afternoons? I've had so much fun. Thank you very much. Thank you. Born and raised here in Chattanooga, and as the sun is setting on our beautiful city, some of you guys are new to Chattanooga, and that's my favorite part of picking everybody's brain. So what do you like about Chattanooga, which we'll get to here in just a little bit. But the cool thing is looking at Lookout Mountain and Elder Mountain and Signal Mountain, where on top of these mountains, we've got mountain bikers and hikers right this very second. You know, they should be here, but they're out doing their own adventures. And Chattanooga is an outdoor city, one of the best in the world, for sure. All right, so Berne and Greg, who was here last night? Okay, here at the luncheon? Okay, wow, there's a lot of these. So I don't even have to introduce them at all. Wow, and I know you did an incredible job running the panel up here. And trust me, I talk too much, so you can grab this microphone anytime you want, Berne and Greg. But last night was magical. The times that I've been a part of the Lookout Wild Film Festival, 14 years on and off for sure, I don't think I've ever seen a 4.5, 5 minute standing ovation. Let's give them a big round of applause for their film. Best day ever. Holy smokes, oh my goodness. And then you guys are in for a treat. Alicia, McDearis, you are incredible of the story that you have put together that we're going to see later on tonight. And I'm just going to read the short description of what we're all going to experience tonight in the auditorium. Adaptive athletes in the mountains of northern Utah are building community, riding for healing and joy, and proving that mountain biking is more than a sport, it's life-changing. And we'll get to that here in just a minute. Now, I told my wife, Christie, did you watch Straight B's an hour or so ago? Yes. Thank you, Steve. That was a big surprise, because we got the best short film of the festival. So that was such a... I love surprises, so that was really cool, sharing Christie's story. All right, now, I want to start with you guys. First of all, I want to ask you the same question, and it doesn't have anything to do with your films. It doesn't have anything to do with the experience you've experienced so far at the festival. Talk to us about Chattanooga. What has been Chattanooga like for you the last 48 hours?
I went for a lovely hike on the Cumberland Trail today, and whatever the other side was, and then had to kind of run back because didn't quite time it all right and didn't want to miss the panel. Ate some great food, went to a restaurant called Calliope that was so good. I've been staying at the crash pad in the hostel, and that's been really fun. I've met such nice people. I went to Aretha Frankenstein's for breakfast. I don't know, I feel like I've been getting some highlights.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I actually have a friend in from Asheville, and I feel like I just went on an eating tour. I'm so full right now. But it's been amazing to see all the amazing places you have here. The food, we've got some oysters down at the Roadhouse place, like on the water, which was super good. Went sightseeing up Lookout Mountain, Signal Mountain, which was so cool, being over there and like looking at 3 different states as we're up there. And it's just been really fun to be here, but also just seeing the community all like-minded people that want to be in the outdoor space. So it's been fun just like talking and feeling like I blend right in here being from Vermont. So thank you for just being so open and welcome with everyone being here. I've had a blast.
So many rivers. Love the rivers.
Right, yeah. We got a beautiful area. As you can tell, this is an awesome view as well. All right, Alicia, how about you?
Let's see, I've been doing a lot of hiking the last couple of days, so just the number of hiking trails here is pretty impressive. And the fact that they're so accessible from downtown, and also the rivers. And I'm mad that I'm not here during like mountain bike season. I realize that every season could be mountain bike season, but I'm a tiny human and I get cold. Okay, so hiking, and that's just been fun. I've been finding all the vegan junk food I can possibly locate, and I heard a whoop. And just being reminded how nice it is to be able to visit cities that are so connected to the outdoors and that make it easy to like get out there in whatever way that you like to get out there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Alicia. How about you, Christie?
I met you here.
Yeah. That's right. We met here.
It's right in
Christie. Yeah.
No, the water, the river, the lake, everything. I grew up skiing and just we used to go hiking a lot and camping and everything. And so I've been doing that since I was 3 years old. So anything that does water, that's my area. I mean, I like to hike, but yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, she is awesome when it comes to slalom skiing. So we've got some representatives here with the Chattanooga Filmmakers Guild, which is really, really cool. Here's what I love about, because we've seen the film, we've seen the subjects, we can talk about mountain biking, we can talk about what we've seen on screen. Let's take a few minutes to talk about the behind the scenes of what that looks like with the film festival. Because I would think the majority of us that are in the crowd, we're wanting to see a good adventure film, right? That's what really draws us. I've talked to so many the last several years where they're in it because, you know what? They're not into mountain biking, but they like seeing somebody else crash, or they like seeing somebody else go do that. And they like sitting in a nice, comfortable seat, like seeing other people do adventure film, their adventure. So let's go behind the scenes with your film. So talk to us about the process of putting this film together. I want to brag about you, Berne, real quickly. Here I am talking to her for about 5 minutes. I go, oh wait, you're a journalist. Wait, I've read that article. Oh yeah, aviation. Wait, I read that article. So it's really, really cool. Talk to us about this. Put us where you were like, you know what? I'm going to do this film. Where did it all start?
So the idea for this film came from working on the driving range trails. And for me, it was watching kids who came to volunteer interact, well, at first not interact with Greg and other people who are in wheelchairs or adaptive bikes who are also there volunteering. So especially like boys, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, there was just no context. And like, I think that they did not know or did not understand like what they had in common with Greg or Louis or Kelly or other people who were there volunteering also. And watching that change during a single day of volunteering or 2 days of volunteering, where like our volunteer days, basically we dig, we ride, we eat. And like, by the end of just one of those days, like a kid who had come to volunteer would suddenly be like just hanging out, like riding with Greg, just the chair disappeared. And that to me was so powerful. I just felt like it's amazing we have these trails in Vermont, but like we need to facilitate this happening in more places because this is too important.
Greg, when you were out in Chattanooga, since you've been here the last couple of days, have you looked at trails going, okay, that's Gregable?
Yeah, this morning I actually went and checked the top of the trailhead, and my friends go down, and we literally took photos or pictures most of the way down the trail, and we literally were just like, oh, like all of this would go, and I can't believe I don't have my bike here right now. I'm actually like, quite mad. And so it's just so cool to see and have that ability, and it's cool to see that more often everywhere we're going to be going, and like where we are, and obviously having Catalyst Sports down here and sort of working together to create these experiences makes it that much better. Because this stuff is going on throughout the country, and it's really good to see how thriving it actually is here in Chattanooga, and it just makes my heart like so full just to see that. And I will definitely not be without my bike the next time I'm here. I can tell you that for sure.
I was going to ask you if you brought your bike. So you did bring your bike. Okay.
Just here for 2 days. So traveling with the bike is a bit of a pain, but I do it all the time anyway. But I will. It'll be here next time, and I promise you that for sure.
Good.
There's some amazing work going on in this area through SORBA. I don't know the details of SORBA Chattanooga, but like throughout the SORBA, the 8 states of SORBA, there's a lot of adaptive trails being retrofit, trails being built, etc. Can I ask Greg a question?
Heck yeah.
So this is a question that like 5 people asked me yesterday for Greg, which was, can you talk about the bikes?
Yeah, I think kind of to your point when you were just asking before, this is what makes it so hard from behind the scenes and how hard this stuff is that like, right, body bikes and two-wheel bikes are all pretty similar. Our adaptive bikes are so very different. There's like 3 to 4 manufacturers, and depending on right, your ability, what your injury is, your ability to do stuff, it depends what you're able to ride. And then each bike is so different, so to be able to create trails that are different for 4 different bikes, when normally you're building a trail for the same type of bike, makes it so much more harder to do. Plus, these bikes cost anywhere between $15,000 and $25,000, right? So if there's no place to ride, the ecosystem is a bit different. So everyone always asks, well, like, who's going to come if you build these trails? I'm like, well, no one's going to buy a $25,000 bike if there's no trails to ride. And so the ecosystem of adaptive sports is a bit backwards. So trying to change that perception, understand that creating inclusive spaces is so important. And because of that, right, you've got front-wheel drive bikes with 1 wheel in the front and 2 in the back, and then you vice versa with rear-wheel drive bikes, 2 wheels in the front, 1 in the back, and it's making a huge difference in the terrain that you're building. And so to be able to curate a trail that works for all these bikes is super difficult, but at the same time, these bikes can do way more than you possibly think. And everyone thinks we're just dumbing those trails down, and that's the complete opposite of what we're actually doing. We want to make it just as hard, just a bit of a nuance that needs to change to actually do that.
That's so interesting because, Alicia, I was going to ask you the same question about what we're going to see tonight with those expensive bikes, with your film called Adaptive. But talk to us, kind of give, and I kind of read what your film is about, but give us the why behind you producing and directing this film.
Yeah, for sure. I am a non-disabled person, so I guess it's a couple of people looked at it and be like, yeah, but why do you want to make a film about adaptive mountain biking? To me, it felt more like, I mean, why not? But also, for me, mountain biking is way more about fun and community and getting together for adventure than like learning how to do epic tricks. I'm not, jumping 15-foot gap jumps when I go out to mountain bike, and neither are any of my friends. And so I wanted to, if you can do that, that's respect. I can't. I'm collarbones. But I wanted to show the community of the togetherness, I guess, of an underrepresented community, and that mountain biking can and should be for everyone, and that there's healing in that for your soul, just being able to get outside and play, especially if it's something you did pre-injury, if your disability is from like an accident or something like that, but just highlighting that there are still ways to get out there, and reminding those of us who are non-disabled that what the challenges are for people who don't look like us, and what we should be thinking of when we go out there, what to do, what not to do, what to remember that's important, and that we all belong out there, and that there should be more trails built for everyone that we can all enjoy together. And that's just what I wanted. It was to celebrate a different side of mountain biking that isn't always, I guess, paid attention to quite as much. And I had a great time doing it.
Yeah, good. I enjoyed watching it. Catalyst Sports. Raise your hand if you're with Catalyst Sports. There we go. Perfect. That's wonderful. Yay! Shane and Ryan, I think, and Avanya. Is that it? Yeah, there you are, right there. Perfect. Awesome. This is what I love about the Lookout Wild Film Festival. I get to meet really cool people like you that I haven't met them yet. I just heard about them. So I should have been here last night. Yeah. But anyway, I'm glad you guys are here tonight. And then Sunshine Loveless, thank you for all you do with Sorba, for sure. All right, my wife Christie, she climbed Mount Kilimanjaro a little over a year ago. And it was my first, I'm a rookie when it comes to being a director, and there's a lot that goes into films. And here I'm thinking, 45 minutes, 50 minutes. No, I wanted to do a shorter film, and it was 18 minutes. Christie, what everybody watched today, a little while ago, what's the one thing that you want to put out there that didn't really necessarily make it in our short film?
Good question. When we started, and James asked if I wanted to do this, and I said yes, my focus was on, first I said there needs to be a reason, and it was epilepsy awareness. And then my focus was on, I've got to get in shape, I've got to make it to the summit, and that's what counts. And to show, yes, I have something, a challenge, a health challenge to hold me back from doing things, but I wanted to show people you can't let that hold you back. But, growing up, if we camped, it was like 1 or 2 nights and that was it. It wasn't 8 days, 15,000 feet high. But with our team, I realized we became a team. We just had conversations on these trails and, hiking all day and camping and everything. But we had conversations where I would forget that I was going up, or I would, forget that we're climbing rocks, and it brought us all together. And so that helped so much in enjoying it. And not all of it was enjoyable, that's for sure. But that time together was something that was very important, but just, I enjoyed being with all these people. And we have a bond. And so that's something I didn't think about. But, knowing what our main reason, was to let people know that you can do whatever you want, but you need people. But my relationships with the people with us kind of woke me up, and I enjoyed it a lot more than what I thought.
One thing that didn't make it in the film, I think I briefly mentioned when we were at base camp in the tent, Christie's on 38,000 milligrams of meds a week. And there's 4 different kind of meds, and she still has, on average, 1 or 2 seizures a day. She has a device in her brain, and I always have it in my pocket. There's a replica of it, but it's our team of doctors are down at UAB, and they can let us know how many seizures she's had, and they let us know about her seizure activity. But when we got up to altitude, Christie, it was unbelievable how the medicine was just going just bizarre in her system, and it was extremely scary.
So not everything I said in that video was necessarily true. I didn't know what day we were on sometimes, but that was, that's why.
There were some scary moments on that mountain. I want to get back to mountain biking. Alicia, what we're going to see tonight, I don't want to give too much away. It's an 11-minute film. It's a great film. But I wrote in my notes traumas, from suicide to physical disabilities, how mountain biking saves lives. And you've touched on this, Greg, but the expense of these adaptive bikes, how can we get that cost down?
think Greg might be the real expert on this one. But what I learned through all this is a lot of these adaptive programs that exist in various cities around the country, and then there are some nationwide ones, of course. Like the really good ones will help writers with grant writing so that they can get grants to buy their own equipment. The one we feature in our film most prominently, they get a bunch of bikes. They, I think, got several new ones just this year. They grew their fleet, if you will, from like 2 to 5 or 6, something like that, so that they can provide bikes to riders who aren't able to afford that very expensive piece of equipment that's often very specialized to your specific disability, whatever that looks like. And so it's so important for these organizations to exist for that reason alone. I mean, for so many more reasons, but just to be able to offer the opportunity for people to get out there and experience it, and then once they do experience it, because they didn't have to invest a lot of money in this bike, realize how much fun it is and how much they love it, and that they want to pursue this, and that it brings healing to their soul. Now they can try to get their own bike with help from these organizations that can kind of guide them, lead them to where they need to go in order to make that happen. And that's really important when you're talking about a $20,000 bike.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Yeah.
I was going to say, honestly, ironically enough, just meeting Alicia for the first time, but originally I worked for the Kelly Rush Foundation, so we've got grants for sports equipment, and one of the people in our film is a grant recipient of ours, so we've given a grant to for that equipment, and it's so hard, and unfortunately, the prices probably won't come down because the demand is just very different, and they're just made, as is. They're not sitting on a shelf where they are. They're like, as you order them, they're just being made custom to you and how that works for you. So unfortunately, driving the price down is just so hard, and getting more mainstream organizations to invest in the logistics stuff, but everything in the mountain bike community knows like that the money for parts has gone up anyway, and a lot of man hours to do this stuff, and you see these bikes, like a normal 2-wheel bike probably has like 3 or 4 welds in it, versus our bikes will have 150 welds in it. So you're paying for time, right? Someone's time to actually make that, not the parts, and that's what's so difficult. But the barrier to entry is what's so high. And Alicia, to your kind of point before about talking about like why did you make this film what that looks like, is because we get left on the sidelines a lot of that time. And riding adaptive bikes is actually the easiest part of what we do. It's everything else that you don't think about. It's, when you're on trails or adaptive parking, can you go to the bathroom anywhere? Once you're in your bike, can you actually access the trailhead? Is there a rock or a tree blocking you in? And then you make it to the trails and you're like, I have no idea what trail my bike can go on. I can't just get on my bike and walk and stand up and move around something. There's no signs telling you what works for you. And these are all things that people don't forget. And your biggest problem might be you forgot to put your Strava on, right? And our biggest problem is we can't actually go riding on your trail, right? And that's a very different thing that, to your point, no one ever thinks about. So thank you for bringing that up. It's important.
And I got one question from Berne, but I really want you guys to ask some questions, okay? So, Berne, where's Allie tonight?
It was Allie's birthday yesterday. She is home with her family. She has been able to come to some film festivals, but it's a little bit more of a project for Allie to get on the road, though. She did come to Spain, which was very cool. She came to the Mende Bilbao Festival in Spain, but she is home working and just enjoying the winter. She's a big skier.
Yeah, awesome. That's so cool. That's so cool. All right.
I have a question.
Cole, you got a question?
Yeah, from a filmmaker's perspective, what's one mistake that y'all made on this film that you won't make on your next film? Think about that for a
I
second.
hired the wrong director, and then co-director, and then I hired the right co-director.
That makes a
I
difference.
will not make that mistake ever again.
I don't know. Here, you answer it.
That's a good question. I might say, what do you think, Josh? Josh is my husband and co-director.
Come on up here, Josh.
I would be tempted to say, because you're the filmer,
Get more people involved.
Okay.
And more money. When it's a two-person team, it can be a little rough. So yeah.
there was definitely no fighting in our office ever. I don't know, the only other thing I would say is maybe I would spend more time, or less time pretending I was super familiar with the location and more time scouting specifically for film spots to do like interviews and things, because we had to redo at least one.
Yeah.
You were our director, so.
So no, it was a learning experience with me. I was fortunate with us. I was fortunate to have some really good people on board, so I'll say this one thing, and I want to turn it over to you guys. Here we are. This is like a year and a half before we even climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and a dear friend of mine who helped me put some of the trailers together to promote it through the Epilepsy Foundation. He was up in New York City, and I'm sitting on the couch, and it's me, it's my wife Christie, and I think Lindsay Glass maybe, and the three of us are on the couch, and we were in a Zoom call, and so we had storyboarded the trailer. And so we had a couple of clips of her seizures, and some of those, not all the seizures made it on that 18-minute film. And I was like, good gracious, that's emotional, that's gripping, that's I love it, thank you, Neil, thank you. And I looked over, and Christie was bawling, and she had never seen anybody have a seizure, much less she'd never seen herself have a seizure. And so it was really interesting.
It was a wake up.
Yeah,
It was a wake up call for me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I want to turn it over to you guys. This is what it's all about. We've got 15, 20 minutes. Please, don't worry about asking a crazy, stupid question. I'm sure you have some wonderful questions. And if you would just stand up, if you don't mind. And you, Bentley, right? Yes, Bentley. I just met Bentley right before this.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bentley Little with the Chattanooga Filmmakers Guild. Question for y'all. When you go out to film your documentary, you obviously have the story that you're wanting to tell. Was there anything that y'all came upon while you were filming that was a new story that you were like, oh, we should mention this, or this is something that I maybe want to come back to at a later point?
Everything evolved. Like, we started with we knew the storyline, we knew the story arc, we knew what the challenge would be for the characters, and what the resolution would be. But everything was in the filming. Like, things came up, pieces came together. Pieces came together even in edit. With footage, there's footage in our film of a young man who Allie worked with before she was injured, who has a mental disability, and it was video that Allie had that she sent us literally in the 11th hour of editing. That became such an important piece of the film. So you can think you have a plan, and then my experience is it always changes.
Good question. Thank you, Bentley. Any other? Is your heart just pounding? I was like, I really want to answer the question, but I'm kind of embarrassed. There we go. Oh, I know your heart. I saw your heart pounding out your chest, Sunshine. All right, go for it.
I'd love to know, Greg, besides the trails you've got to build kind of your own backyard, is there a favorite trail system that you've experienced in all of your traveling?
Ooh, that is actually a really good question. I just really didn't hear that. In my travels across the country, is there any other trail networks that I've really come to enjoy? And I think I spent a lot of time in Canada, which has been pretty great. So the Squamish area, as people most know, that it's a really great mountain biking area. But again, it's just kind of odd how that things work. So actually, Brevard in Nashville happens to work really well for adaptive mountain bikes. And again, it's not that wasn't the purpose of that. Just kind of how the terrain sits and works. So Brevard has some really amazing trails that I've loved to ride. And then up in Squamish too as well, just the way the terrain works and down the fall line. So anything that's like bench cut, if people are not familiar, I said the word bench cut, it's like you're building trail across the trail, so down the trail, that's where it gets tricky because it's hard to make it wide. And our bikes are 36 to 38 inches wide. So creating a wide bench cut makes it difficult. So when you have trail systems that are built where it's down the fall line, so going more down the hills where our bikes really excel, and just happen to be in Brevard and Nashville area, the best of the terrain really exists that way. And same thing in Squamish, it's super steep and fun, but it's down the fall line, so it really excels for our bikes. So if I was going to go back really anywhere, like outside of Vermont, it's definitely to the Nashville, North Carolina area. I also hear it's like that very much here, so I'm excited to check that out. But also up in Squamish in Canada has been really, really amazing, and all the slabs there with their Velcro, and you can really ride down steep stuff there, which is super fun. That's on our bikes too, that works well. Those are really good questions, Sunshine. Thank you.
And hats off, put your hands together for Sorba. Man, I know, you're going to stop. Because every time I'm on my little rinky-dink 25-year-old mountain bike, I so appreciate all you and your volunteers do to keep our area trails clean and safe. So it's awesome.
It's all volunteers. I got one more if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
What is one thing that a local chapter like ours that does have a good relationship with Catalyst, what can we do to help make more of our trails adaptive friendly? There's like a simple solution, and I know that's not the answer, but
like honestly, that in and of itself is huge, right? I think a lot of our nonprofits, right, where we're just trying to raise money and we just can't do things on our own, right? We need more mainstream organizations. When I say mainstream, just like able-bodied or main organizations to help. So just by YouTube partnering in of itself is huge. And I think like what's worked really well in Vermont and what I've been doing is kind of creating an assessment program, right? You have so many trails that are out there and it's low-hanging fruit. So be able to take your community out and work with Catalyst to go on, just to go riding, right? And see the people on trails and understand how those bikes ride and be able to go out and just kind of create a little assessment program for yourselves to see what that's like, and that way you can just hunker down and name trails down that work well for these bikes and that works. I think that's the easiest way to do it because you want to ride your bikes, they want to ride their bikes, and working together to facilitate that and create programming around the trails that you want to be on is I think is a really unique way to do that, and the best way to start doing that with low-hanging fruit, the trails that already exist.
And as part of that, also map those trails and let people know where to find them, because that can often be a barrier. It's like, you know, in certain places, I understand you have to like go to trail forks, read descriptions to try and understand like, oh, is this something that as an adaptive rider my bike can make it down? But if you can create a hub of information as Sorba and let people know like in our region, like this is where people can find adaptive trails, and as you add more, you can update it. And then I was just gonna say to everybody in this room, like, go volunteer, go dig for a day with one of these trails organizations. It's really fun. Like, you don't need to be an expert. You don't need to have massive calluses before you show up. You don't need to be some kind of like trail savant. You can just go and, you know, sometimes people just need somebody to go down the trail with a weed whacker and cut out some brush so it's not, so thorns that you have around here aren't hitting somebody in the face when they ride by. Like, there's a lot of stuff to do, and it's like you'll find you'll meet a lot of really nice people, and it's really cool to get involved. So whether or volunteer with Catalyst, like volunteer with something that's helping people get out and get involved in recreation.
Awesome. Great advice. Great advice.
2-minute warning.
No. I was trying to remember your name. Go ahead. It's all right. Radisha, that's right.
I'm in the filmmaker field. I'm new to a lot of this, so I'm really interested in what goes into pre-production, especially with the equipment, because just making standard films is hard enough, but having that equipment out there while you're filming all this action, what does that go into it? And preserving the equipment as well, because I'm just really interested in that. Because it seems like there would be a lot going into all of that.
Good question. She asked about what goes into pre-production and thinking about equipment and that sort of thing. And I mean, I guess every film would be different for sure. for adaptive. It was just Josh and I doing all the filming, and we used the equipment we already had, so we're already photographers, videographers, filmmakers. So it was just taking out, our action cams that we already owned, and we had no budget, and our film cameras, our stills cameras that shoot film, and doing some really wonky running around on trails, trying to hide in bushes and prop up cameras, and honestly it was just wild. We could have used many more action cameras and bodies in bushes holding cameras, filming people running by or riding by, because it was just us sort of like sprinting down trails and yelling, "Okay, we're ready." But yeah, it was probably as crazy as you can imagine that it would be. What about you guys?
Yeah, well, I mean, for us, the one thing that sticks out, we had to improvise with things, especially when you're going into another country, because I'll never forget, we had one of our producers went to Kilimanjaro, to kind of preset some things, and I'll never forget, it was a 48-hour trip to Tanzania. We get off the airplane, and she meets us at the hotel, and the first thing Lindsay says, she whispers to me, and she goes, "I can't find our audio gear." And we had just spent all this money on audio equipment, and it was lost, it was stolen, it was something, and so we had to improvise.
Dry bags, UTVs, a lot of gaffer's tape. We used a cable cam for some shooting on our film, so we climbed trees, we sawed down tree branches, we had my husband, who's a rock climber, with his climbing gear, getting up into the trees and rigging stuff. So it just really depends on what you're shooting, what perspective you want. Lots of carrying heavy gear, and yeah, all camera gear takes a pretty hardcore beating when you're out, if it's dusty, if it's rainy, if it's fill in the blank, so many potential things. So you just do your best and try and think ahead. We had lots of big backpacks to carry stuff up, and we, like Alicia said, just lots of running up and down the trail, and just
Rained all the time.
and what?
It
rained all the time. So yeah. So luckily we had some umbrellas because we filmed with the umbrellas. Anyway, yeah. Just you figure it out.
Also, too, for us, we even told the crew, we didn't want to miss a moment, and a lot of those moments didn't even make it into the film, and it was really hard to pick and choose. But even, a high-quality smartphone, grab a moment, because we can possibly use that. So, but Bernicia, thank you very much. Thanks for all you do with the Chattanooga Filmmakers Guild in Landon, and of course, Bentley. We're about to wrap things up, but yeah, we still have a few minutes to maybe answer some questions.
One more
question.
I'm coming at this from a whole different direction. I'm not a mountain biker. I'm inspired. I'm encouraged. I'm like, oh, this looks cool. I'm a nurse, and I work in a rehab facility, and we have 170 locations, and I deal with amputees and spinal cord injuries and stroke, traumatic brain injury. That's what I do every single day that I go to work. And your film last night particularly impacted me because it didn't just address what the patient goes through, but your mom's breakdown. She's like, I'm the one that lost it. I'm the one that was on the couch and couldn't function. And then all the friends surrounding Allie, and so it comes from friends, the patient, the family, the parent. And so, I scribbled out a bunch of ideas to get the larger community involved, maybe not just people that are interested in mountain biking, but people that are interested in improving the quality of lives for those with disabilities in their community. And how can those people get involved and contribute and be a part of and financially support and all that. And, where can that plug in? Because there were so many films that addressed that this weekend. So,
One really amazing resource is through the organization that Greg works for. That it's called the Active Project, and it's an online site. It's for people who work in rehab. It's for people who have spinal cord injuries. It's for their families, their friends, their caregivers. There's a lot of great information on that site about all kinds of recreational opportunities. And Kelly Bresch Foundation is an organization that gives grants for adaptive sports equipment, as Greg said. So that's a great place to donate if you're interested in trying to support more athletes getting out in the field.
Yeah, just to add on to that too, it has all the different programs throughout the country, right? So all the different Catalyst program organizations that are throughout the country that do the same thing they do, and actually talking to Servo, so all that's there from a caregiver standpoint or from a family standpoint. It all helps you understand how you can do that, because it's not all in one place, and you just don't know how that works. And so our organization does a lot of that, all that work for you to help that out, so you know where to do it and you know how to do that to your exact point. Really great. It's an awesome question.
Yeah. People sometimes forget about programming and how key that is to helping people be able to return to the outdoors or to experience the outdoors for the first time even.
All right, I think we need to wrap things up. Is there anybody just burning to go? James, I got a question.
Sunshine's gonna post my
I know. Sunshine's going, what? I'm giving you all these cues. Okay, go for it.